So there was a volunteer. Her name was Dawn. Dawn entered the hospice house. She was part of a group from a UU community who they all were on a tour of the local hospice center. As Dawn walked into the lobby, she saw a little girl pushing a doll stroller. After noticing the child, Dawn turned her attention to the tour guide, Cheryl with an S, who was introducing herself to the small group. The woman who saw the little girl could not help but turn her attention back to the child with the baby stroller. As the tour guide was speaking, Dawn began to inch herself over to the baby carriage to peer in and see what was in there. In it, she saw a plastic Tyrannosaurus Rex dinosaur and a stuffed whale. Expecting to see a doll, Dawn stifled a snicker and caught the mother's attention. The two grinned at each other. It was a bittersweet moment, really. Here, Dawn was learning about what the hospice center does. Assists people as they take their final breath, to keep people comfortable and to extend care to the family and friends who came to visit their loved ones. And yet, on that same day, a group was taking a tour, and there was a young child with a baby stroller containing miniature versions of the T-Rex dinosaur and Moby Dick, who were taking the ride of their little toy lives. In the midst of serious life and serious death concerns, there are moments of intrigue, joy, and occasional laughter. Unitarian Universalist writer Kurt Vonnegut from Indianapolis wrote, "Laughter and tears are both responses to frustration and exhaustion. I myself prefer to laugh since there's less cleaning up to do." Recently, a member of a congregation said to me, "Grief is exhausting. Grief weighs a person down." Now, there are other countless reasons for a person to be upset other than loss. There are concerns about poverty and terrorism, politics, climate change, the ongoing rages of war, racial inequity, and the tyranny against women. You and I worry a lot. Did you know that the word worry is Anglo-Saxon for to strangle or to choke? It's no wonder folks struggle these days with having a sad disposition. Grief, worry, and concerns are all choking the life out of us. Now, while these realities won't change, I would guess, anytime soon, if at all, one must strive for a sense of balance. Into the mix of grave concern and worry, one has to add levity. For most of us, finding that balance doesn't occur easily and without intention. However, in the same way that we eat food to keep us alive, to nourish our bodies, we should find ways to care for our bodies by seeking moments of laughter. How does laughter help the body? This is where the results of science and our faith tradition comes in. When one remains in a state of worry, the breath shortens. We do chest breathing. Movement of the diaphragm is limited. It too is a muscle and needs to be stretched. Laughter gives the diaphragm a workout. I was listening to a podcast this week, and they talked about in the podcast, the person that the podcaster was interviewing said, We're told to keep our stomach in, to hold our stomach in. And he was saying, that's the worst thing to do. When you breathe, put your hand on your stomach and let it expand as you breathe. Don't go back to that old hold your stomach in. I don't know about you, but women, boy, did I learn that from the age of like 10, right? Laughter is a response so human, so basic to who we are. When we were born, we were little children. And joy was integral to the life of a baby. Facebook, TikTok, how many of you watch baby videos? I do. They're chuckling, they're giggling. It comes naturally. Imagine becoming an adult and forgetting to laugh. To become less than who we were originally, which actually were little bundles of joy, bundles of chuckles. Reverend Susan Sparks, who is a cancer survivor, a comedian, and a minister, says we should be reclaiming the spiritual power of humor. She wants to know why laughter isn't viewed as a spiritual practice. In Laugh Your Way to Grace, she writes, quote, laughter is a spiritual practice. You may not have heard it described this way, but practicing laughter is no different than practicing yoga or meditation or prayer. The transformative nature of any spiritual discipline comes with regular practice. When done consistently, it can eventually change our lives. If we make time to invite joy into our lives every day, we will become more aware of joy and laughter in our lives and in the world. Eventually, she says, laughter will become an innate part of who we are. Learning to find joy, inviting laughter as an expression, changes a person. It is about making a choice for how to live as opposed to feeling like no one has a choice in the matter. I have asked Chris Mueller and Mike Kahn to help me this morning. Would you two come up and do the first set of readings?
I have to take a deep breath. On marriage, Robbie Fox wrote, we both said, I do, and we haven't agreed on a single thing since.
As you can see, we are reading some dad jokes provided to us.
Well, okay, I've gotten criticism, so we can't call them dad jokes.
Oh, sorry.
Many of us had dads who were corny. I'm speaking from personal experience.
Me too.
So maybe that's more common than we think. Okay, but thank you. So anyway, jokes that might or might not have been said by a dad.
Right.
Okay.
I can assure you my 3 sons can understand dad jokes.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, that's true. Some of my friends are unfortunate recipients of them also. All right, here's the second one. A little Unitarian Universalist boy was sitting on the curb in front of his house with a sad look on his face. An older lady happened upon the child and asked why he looked so sad. The boy replied, "My kitty cat died." The older woman, trying to be helpful, said to the young boy, "I know you are sad, but right now your kitty cat is with Jesus." The boy crinkled his nose and had a look of horror on his face. He said, "What would Jesus want with a dead cat?"
Okay, how many psychologists does it take to change a light bulb? Just one, but the light bulb has to want to change.
a highway patrol officer tried to pull over a speeding car on the interstate, but the car wouldn't stop. He pulled alongside the car and was astounded to see that the old woman behind the wheel was knitting, completely oblivious to the patrol car's flashing lights and siren. So the officer shouted over his loudspeaker, "Pull over!" "No," the old lady yelled back, "it's a scarf." You know they're bad when the delay of the punchline takes a while.
Dear Santa, next Christmas, all I want is a fat bank account and a slim body. Let's try not to mix up the two like you did last year, okay?
And I leave you momentarily with this brief question. If we aren't supposed to have midnight snacks, then why is there a light in the fridge? Ba-ding.
Thank you. And thank you both for rolling with me on these corny jokes. I warned you, corny and comical is what you will find today. Writer Anne Lamott talked about her journey of self-discovery and how she had to change her perspective about herself and others, in essence, to work on personal change. She said, "I'm not saying that it became easy, like learning the piano or Spanish or meditation. I had to practice and do it poorly. A trained perspective invites one to practice changing learned patterns. Changing learned patterns. What is the last thing you think about when you go to sleep at night? What is the first thing you think about when you get up in the morning?" She went on to say, by incorporating suggestions for change, after a while, one will notice more balance, more joy, more laughter, more levity. How does one embark on a journey of more joy and laughter and levity? Here are a couple of approaches. 1, observe your surroundings. Look for humor. It's all around us. In my former work as an arts administrator, I coordinated with volunteers countless fundraisers. The more creative, the better. One fundraiser was an afternoon tea using china cups in a variety of styles. So my assistant and I were acquiring teacups from consignment stores, garage sales, and thrift stores. We were searching in a store one afternoon. Down one aisle on one of the shelves, we found 3 nativity sets. In each one, Joseph was missing. However, on one of them, someone replaced a pig standing on its 2 back legs for Joseph. Terribly blasphemous and wildly funny. I'm sorry, but I chuckled in the aisles. I know, blasphemous. But you know what? It wasn't what we expect, and that's part of acquiring a sense of humor, is when your expectations are changed, like that moment when there was a T-Rex in a baby carriage, when a pig was in Joseph's spot in a nativity. We need not relegate the opportunity to laugh only in a secular community. We can find it in our faith communities too. For example, ministers were sharing stories of their Sunday morning adventures. One recalled the day a shoe went flying by his left shoulder. The child swore it was an accident when he was trying to get it off his foot. True story. Once during a sermon, and this is what a minister saw looking out at the gathered, the woman, there was a congregation member sitting in front of the row, and the minister was watching, and the fly was buzzing around past the minister, past the organist, and it went, and the woman, he could see this woman looking behind the man, and she suddenly picked up her hymnal and hit him on the top of the head. Bam! nearly knocking him out. The fly landed on his head. Now, look, again, this is an indication that there is a humorous moment everywhere. I was in a consignment store. Kelly, I know you like consignment stores too. And I was walking out, leaving one of them. I didn't see anything I especially needed. I was looking for a water pitcher. Environmental justice group, we're running out of glass water pitchers. And as I was walking out the door, in a basket was Ken with his pants pulled down. I started to go out the door and I backed up and I pulled his pants up. I thought it was so disrespectful that Ken would be laying there without his clothes on. Comical moments are everywhere. 2, this is something we UUs are so good at. Fixing everybody. Author of All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten, the Reverend Robert Fulgham, said, I am a minister in the Unitarian Universalist Association. He said, our motto is, we don't ever leave well enough alone. My colleague makes a point. This very attribute of our tradition reveals that our determination to fix the ills of the world, our deep commitment to making life better, our focus on experiencing the pain of others in order to help, while valid, that's important, but that can also lead to an imbalance. There has to be some levity. Again, Susan Sparks says life is like a buffet before us. Quote, every day we wake up, we are offered the world's greatest buffet. It spreads as far as the eye can see with vats of pleasure and joy, laughter and smiles, happiness and contentment. It is available to all, yet we take only a tiny salad plate to this fabulous spread and serve ourselves just a few morsels. We are already stuffed with so much else that there's no room for joy. What if we looked for more? It is what it is for now. Those moments. This doesn't make me happy. I will work for change, but it is what it is now. Maybe it involves taking a breath between endeavors in order to experience levity, lightness of heart. These moments will fuel the work for making change in the world. Making change, that is acquiring a little more humor and expressed through laughter, can help us to have compassion for people, for ourselves and others. And slowly, we will find solutions effortlessly, probably not focusing on the shortcomings of others, but working on ourselves in hopes that others are also working on themselves. When people laugh, the metaphorical ego-protecting weapons that we put, I do this, and I'm a really good person because this is what I do, and you don't do that. Let that go. If somebody says, I don't know, what do you do? Well, this is what I do, but don't condemn people for doing their best. So when we laugh, we let that ego-protecting weapon begin to ease to the ground. Mike and Chris, can you come up again? They're laughing before you even say anything.
Lucky you all. Why did the UU cross the road? To support the chicken in its search for its own path.
You might be a UU if you have been in an argument with someone over whether or not breast milk is vegan.
Or when you dress for a formal evening out, you wear a little black dress, pearls, and Birkenstocks, and your wife thinks you look just great.
Or you get Newt Gingrich confused with the Grinch who stole Christmas.
Or you think the holy day of obligation is your turn to bring a snack for coffee hour.
Or you get mail from committees you didn't even know you were on.
Thank you. In a talk titled, "What's So Funny About Being a UU?" Unitarian Universalist Ann Stark said, "Laughing actually changes the chemicals in your body, and it activates the immune system, making us more resistant to illness. It can speed recovery, reduce stress and pain, and ward off illness. Maybe even reduce the risk of heart disease. In the words of Mary Pettibone Poole, he who laughs, lasts. He who laughs, lasts, lives." So maybe some of you have seen this image. This is Hotei, the laughing monk, based on a real-life monk who lived in Japan. He existed in the late 800s, and he had trouble finding enlightenment. He meditated, and as he was sitting under a tree one day, he heard children laughing. And he opened his eyes and he watched them laugh. And he realized that laughter makes you feel good. And he started laughing. And then he realized that life is nothing but consistent change, impermanence. And he said from that point on, he laughed and he laughed. People in the town would hear him laughing as he was walking down the street. He reached enlightenment through laughter. I hope you will make joy your faith calling. Unitarian poet E.E. Cummings said, "The most wasted of all days is one without laughter." May it be so, and blessed be.